Have you got anything, Ade, to see whether it's when it started?
No.
Because I've got mine. I just want to see when it started. That's all. Because it's.
Oh, hang on a minute.
Oh, here we go. Hang on a minute. Oh, there we go. I've got a number up on screen now. So, good evening, and you're welcome to Raconteurs News. We're Raconteurs News, and nobody knows why. Good. We've had a bit of a change in acceleration. So we're back to Mondays and Tuesdays from 8 o'clock, and we're going to get some great guests on like we've got on tonight. 44 seconds in, AD, and it's telling me that there's no fucker watching, and I know there is because the.
Well, don't worry, because it come up on my tablet that we'd started. So
right, okay.
It's told everybody that we're here.
Yeah, so it's been a great weekend. Good evening to Super Leeds. Sorry, I hadn't heard from you. I heard from you on Saturday. You wanted to have a bet on the game because Leeds were playing Sheffield Wednesday, and we decided on a pint a goal, and so Leeds now owes me 2 pints because Wednesday won. Manly defending all the way through the first half, and the second half we took it from them. So good evening to
How many people went to hospital?
Not many. We're not like that over here, you know. We're not like you Brucers fighting over Sheilas.
Yeah. I heard about you Yorkshire lot at the football.
Yeah, well, you would, wouldn't you? Ade's with me tonight. Rob Halford's here as well, but let's just get Ade into the conversation. How you doing, mate? Have you had a good weekend? Oh, by the way, I forgot to tell you, I've got a brand new favourite dog joke. I've had two favourite. I've had a favourite dog joke for years. Right.
Your favourite one up until your new one. What was it?
Until my new one, which I'll tell at some point near end or something. But my old favourite dog joke was there's a bloke and he's got a stage act with his dog, and his dog's called Derek, the dyslexic Doberman. So he stands on stage. He stands on stage with his dog, and he says to his dog, who's called Derek, he says, "Derek, what's it like sitting on sandpaper?" And he says, "Roof." And bloke says, "Don't you mean rough?" He says, "What did you fucking ask me for then?"
Oh, jeez. Stick to football results, fuck's sake.
That was my favourite one. Ade, go on, mate, go on. But how's your weekend been?
Come on, Ade, rescue the show. We only just started and he's already shot it to shit.
No, I was good. A good weekend. My team won. Been to see my mum. You know, just good weekend.
Your team won. What team's that?
Sheffield Steelers ice hockey.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant football.
I don't do football. 22 millionaires throwing themselves on the floor and cheating.
Oh, God, here we go.
No, we're not talking about Chelsea versus Arsenal, you nugget. See this? It's hard to get good help these days, I tell you.
It is hard, isn't it? Anyway, if anybody goes to our Facebook page, have a look. There's a new picture up there. I finally took down a picture of me and Andy, and I've popped one up of me and Ade. So
I didn't know there was a picture of me and you.
Oh yeah, I sent it you in that email, so it should be an attachment in the email that I sent you with the link. So,
but if you do go to the website to see a picture of these two who've got unlicensed heads, get private health cover before you look at it.
What? Hey, I tell you what, Jason, you need to introduce our guest, and you also need to tell people why Rob never puts his face on screen.
Because I haven't got a webcam hooked up, you box head.
No, that's not the reason at all.
I know my technical problem. You don't know my technical problem because you nugget. I not nugget, you nugget.
Right then, come on, Jason. Introduce. This is Rob Halford. Right, hi Rob. How you doing?
I'm all right. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good.
Oh, you're doing it. You're doing the best you can, seeing that you're stuck in England anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Could be worse though.
Yeah,
But
you could be in the fire zone.
yeah, for anybody listening who's for both of you that are listening, if you didn't notice, Rob's he's an Aussie, and that's exactly where he is now. Rob, is it Monday morning or Tuesday morning for you?
Oh, fuck, now you're getting into difficult questions. It is now Tuesday morning at 7:05.
Right, okay.
That's Raconteurs News. We ask all the difficult questions, don't we?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
What time is it?
But just before we get onto the subject or one of the subjects that Rob wants to talk about, I'm trying to give people a mental picture of the three of us, because Jason and I are a few miles apart in and around Sheffield, and then we've got Rob who's like 12,000 miles away.
Yep.
But Rob, in where you are in Oz, if I've got a picture of Australia in front of me, a map, roughly whereabouts are you? Tell people where you are.
If you go to the bottom, the southeast corner, you don't start your shit, Mr. Sheffield Wednesday supporter, winning by 2 goals, trying to get 2 pints out of someone cheap. You go to the bottom right corner, which is the southeast of Victoria, and I'm right in the middle of the state.
Right.
In fact, I'm about 20 k's from the actual dead centre of the state.
Right.
Okay. So Rob, let's get into these bushfires. What's your take on them? What's the Australian media talking about? And also a question I wanted to ask you as well.
How many are you going to ask me at once? Like 4 questions.
All right, then. Go on, then. We'll do that. We'll do that one first. Go on.
Then. Where are they first? Where are they?
The media. You got to be aware. I don't have a tell lies vision, so I don't know what they're saying on TV. I only see what they say online, and they're making all sorts of claims, like Australia's hottest day ever. That's the headline. Then you go and look at it, and it's not. It's the hottest day on that date.
Right.
So there's a lot of bullshit going on, and there's a story circulating, and I posted about it because I'm disputing the numbers. Some scientist, and I use that term loosely, like we would if we were going to say that Tony Blair was a humanitarian, in Sydney has said that 480 million animals had died. I'll explain in a minute. In New South Wales. Originally it was 1 billion, but then he put it down to 480 million. And I'm thinking, there's not even 480 million animals on the fucking continent, let alone in New South Wales. So I get an article. It's not animals. It's mammals. I'm thinking that bullshit. Okay, how did he do it? Right. It's a guesstimate that he's made on a guesstimate from the World Wildlife Fund of how many animals were in New South Wales. So I'm thinking, right, bullshit. So now it's over 1 billion. The same guy has now chucked in reptiles and birds. And I'm thinking, okay, why are you lying? We don't have that many animals. These areas are in drought. And people are saying, oh, what about the big sheep stations? That's the fucking Northern Territory and parts of Queensland and Western Australia. You don't have big sheep stations in parts of New South Wales right near the city. Even out the back, they don't have these big sheep stations and cattle stations where you might have 100,000 sheep. And so I don't believe for a second it's 480 million everything. We don't have that many animals here. This is the driest continent on the planet, you know, and New South Wales has been in drought for 7 years. The farmers have been showing photographs and footage. They're shooting their animals and burying them because there's no feed or water. So I'm thinking, where are you getting all these animals from? So there's a lot of stuff going around that is being played up by the media. And of course, our old mate Rupert Murdoch, may piss be upon him, His news media, what do they call it again? News Corporation or whatever it is.
Yeah.
They've been blowing this thing up that there's about 200 arrests for arson. And it's not true. It was all of 2019, not this fire season from September. It was all of 2019 across multiple states, and they were not all arrests for arson. So they've blown this figure up, and the figure's nowhere near accurate.
Mm-hmm. So there's the animal. What about people? Has there been many people that have been killed?
I think there's about 20 people killed and about 4 or 5 firefighters. And there's something like 15 million hectares plus burned out. And I think about 1,500 buildings.
Right.
Rob, sorry. Oh.
As I was saying to you before we started, some of the places that are burned in Queensland have never burned ever before. It's rainforest. It's never burned before in history, and now it's burned. That is obviously very unusual.
Right.
Now, what were we going to ask, Ade?
You know, when you were saying that this guy's come up with all these weird and wonderful ways of dreaming up the biggest figures necessary.
Yes.
For the amount of animals and what. Well, I mean, what's your take on that? Is it does it give the farmers more insurance to claim on because they've lost?
It won't help the farmers though. I'm not sure.
It's just if there's a number being inflated, there's normally a reason behind it.
Yeah, I think I'd say the reason is that people love animals. People watch a kid being shot in Palestine, and it don't bother them. But if they see an animal, an animal in distress, and I think that's what they're there for, to try to get to people's love of animals and get it a bit more impactful.
Actually, there's a very good point. I've got a very loyal listener listening in, Eden. So I'll say to Eden, Erev Tov, Brucha Haba'ah. Yeah, I think a lot of it is to wind people up. I think that's what a lot of this reporting is about. Some good things. One of the good things that's come out of it is that for the first time for a long time, I can honestly say I'm proud of the Australian Defence Force, even the Navy, right? Because they're here helping us. The Navy's evacuated the whole town of Malakuta from far east in Victoria and brought them down to the Mornington Peninsula in Melbourne. And it's quite amusing. I was watching a video of it, and there's an army officer holding an orders group, an O group, on the beach with his fucking notebook and that. I thought, I wonder how many of these people know that this guy's holding an orders group. I've been in 1,000 of them. And he's going through it exactly like the book says, And so I'm proud of the ADF. They're helping us at home instead of being overseas messing with other people. And they've called 3,000 reservists up in New South Wales. And guess what one of their main jobs is? Digging holes to bury the dead animals. Isn't that great?
Well, yeah.
So
they've got a lot on, haven't they?
Oh, hell yeah. So if all the listeners want to try this, go onto YouTube and type in Paul Parker fireman. There's this fireman from Nelligan in New South Wales, and he's a national hero now, because if you see the video, it's a classic. The Prime Minister, Scott Morrison, on Twitter, he's got the handle ScoMo, but we call him Scummo, and that's when we're in a generous mood. So he's been saying all sorts of dumb shit, like they said, the firefighters should be compensated. Oh, no, they want to do this. So Paul Parker, he's actually in Nelligan, where he's from, fighting fires, and he's in his fire truck, and he pulls up and he goes, "Hey, are you from the media? Tell the Prime Minister to go get fucked." This is on TV. And he says, "Yeah, because we really love doing this, you fuckhead." And off he drives. And then you see him again later. He goes, "Yeah, tell the Prime Minister, I'll meet you anywhere at any time, pal. Paul Parker from Nelligan." So he's a hero. Everyone's quoting him. So I came up with a saying, is Paul Parker, a genuine hero, Scummo, a genuine zero. He's done nothing. These fires started in September, and he goes on holiday in December to Hawaii. We didn't even know he'd left the country. We didn't know the acting Prime Minister was a Deputy Prime Minister, and they denied it. Then they said, "Oh yeah, he's in Hawaii." You know, and I'm sitting there thinking, hang on, Scummo's in Hawaii. This could be good, because you remember what they did to Captain Cook. You know the story of Captain Cook. They got him and fucking killed him. I'm thinking, hang on, can we do a reenactment of Captain Cook landing on the beach in Hawaii, please? But you know, it's a case of he's done nothing. And then you get people say you're being hard on him because firefighting is a state responsibility, which is correct. But if you look at the Constitution and Section 51, the external affairs power is an exclusive power of the Commonwealth. So asking for help or accepting help is his job. It's not the states. They've been turning down help left, right and centre. They just turned down help from Denmark for 150 firefighters.
Wow.
Nobody knows why. They were actually ready to send 50 of them the other day, and they said no. And some dead shit American put on one of my friends' posts, maybe because they don't speak English. I'm like, hang on a second. Danes don't speak English. They're fucking multilingual. They get taught English in school. They're well known in Europe for being multilingual. But is American, you've got to let them off. So we don't know why they're turning all this help down. And the Liberal Party, Liberal National Party, which is where he's from, in New South Wales, they cut the budget to the Rural Fire Service by 75% ahead of a fire season. So the Premier, and I think it's Gladys Berejiklian, we call a koala killer, because that's the result. Lots of koalas have been killed in New South Wales because of them. And it's just insane. And this is not a normal fire season. We haven't seen fires like this before. Like I said, there's parts of Queensland that are burnt that have never burnt in history. So, you know, it's crazy.
I just want to, just a couple of comments from the chat room. Super Leeds has made the point they are burying cremated animals.
Virtually, yeah.
Yeah, so that sounds daft. And this one from New Being, who I believe is in Sweden, and she says, that is funny. Danes go to Australia. Guess which came to Sweden when we had fires? The Polish. So it's, you know, it's again, the point is that Australia's turned this down for a reason which is frankly ridiculous. I know an Irish guy who lives in Denmark.
Lucky bastard.
He's a window cleaner, and he makes a fucking fortune cleaning windows. He cleans like big buildings, you know.
Does he play a ukulele as well?
Yeah.
I had to. I couldn't help it.
No, don't worry about that. Listen,
well, that's one of them British stereotypes.
Webby, who you perhaps remember from Raconteurs News, he's been on a few times and also spent some time as a host. He is asking the question, DEWs, question mark.
I see this all the time. I've seen training films when I was in the army of very, very early use of lasers. If you go onto YouTube and have a look, laser weapons are invisible. You don't see a beam. So all these photos, I don't know, but in my opinion, they're Photoshop. That's what I think.
It could be a case that they see light that we can't see with the naked eye. Because I know if you get your remote control for your TV or something, and you press the button, you can't see the light flashing at the end. But if you get your camera off your phone and look at it through your camera on your phone and then press the buttons, you can see the light flashing. So do you think it might be people photographing and seeing photographing things that are there but are not visible to naked eye?
Just wind it back about 30 seconds and I said, go onto YouTube and have a look at videos. That is cameras capturing it. You still can't see a beam.
Right.
And there's all sorts of laser videos you'll find on there. There's experimental lasers shooting down rockets, mortars, and aircraft. I just had a look at one the other night where they're using it on a Zodiac. And you don't see a laser beam. So I don't know what that's about. And there's a lot of disinfo. People are spreading maps showing there's a rail line planned, and there is a rail line planned, but this is Australia. So you plan something in 1950, it gets done in fucking 2050. So this rail line is planned from Brisbane to Sydney to Canberra to Melbourne. And they're going, isn't it funny? The fires match the route. No, you're a dead shit. Show me where the fires are in Victoria. See, I'm subtle like that.
Sorry, it was the same story in the California fires. They said that it was a route that a train wanted to go down. Yeah, sorry.
Well, this is legit. They actually do have this plan. They've had this for 20 plus years. But I've said to people, right, where are the fires in Victoria in that fire route? Now, see, this is a trick question because I'm on the route. I'm in it. So if there was fires there, I'd know about it. The nearest fire to me was 50 kilometres away at Euroa. And as I said to you, there was one at Bendigo. So, but the one at Bendigo was a small grass fire that they got under control very quickly. The one at Euroa wasn't. And there's no fires, with the exception of some outside of Albury, Wodonga, which is a station on this route. There's none near the train line. In Victoria, most of the fires are from Albury, Wodonga down into the mountains and east where Malakuta is, and that's just joined up with a fire from New South Wales, and the one from Albury, Wodonga joined one over the border at New South Wales. So we've got super wildfires that are out of control. And in the meantime, Scummo, who's got a head on him like a sack full of doorknobs, and they're used doorknobs, he's refusing help from overseas. And people might say, what are 150 firefighters going to do? They'll come in, 150 of our guys can take a week off while these guys work for a week, and then these guys can go back and the Danes take a week off. You rotate people through. That's what they can do, you know. So it's a case of, one of the concerns I have is that Scummo is a Pentecostal Christian, and he's a very, very strict Pentecostal Christian, talks in tongues and all sorts of crazy stuff. From what I understand, their idea of the times of the rapture matches all of the calamities going around. He may not be inclined to stop it because it matches his religious beliefs. So we've got wildfires going in New South Wales in September and October. This dickhead is introducing a bill into the parliament about religious discrimination. I can see how that's going to put the fires out. You know, I would tell you that the leadership in this country is inept, but that's not correct because there's no leadership. There's none. They're turning it's going more and more and more totalitarian. And that there was a report the other day came out about how Australia's democracy, whatever that means, because it means different things to different people, is narrowed. We're equal to Botswana. Fucking Botswana. And this country is corrupt as. So I don't know what these people are thinking, but I'm concerned that this religious wacko is not acting because it matches his beliefs. Now, I don't care about your religion. That's your business. But if you make it my business, we've both got a problem now. Because that's a private thing. It should not take part in your public office. And he's loading his cabinet with ministers and parliamentary secretaries from his church. So I don't know if that plays a part. I don't have enough information, but let's just say that I'm very suspicious.
That's an interesting view as well, isn't it? I mean, it would stand up with the turning help away and stuff like that, so that people might see what's really going on.
Other prime ministers have not turned help away like this before, so I don't know what the explanation is. It's got me stuffed. All I know is I did 6 years in the army here. I spent a lot of time in the bush. This is the best continent you'll ever see. We've got an area bigger than Europe. You can grow anything you want here. Believe it or not, there's no shortage of water. It's just in the wrong areas. And these people are destroying our home. They're allowing the fires to just rip through everything. One of the NASA photos, you can see scorched land from space in New South Wales. And it's not a small strip, it's wide. And I'm thinking, holy shit. So the smoke turned the sky in Auckland red, and leaves from New South Wales were dropping in Auckland. How the hell do you like that?
Rob, just from a geography point of view.
Yeah.
You've said that you're kind of down at what I'd call, I don't know, 5 o'clock. If Australia was a clock face?
Somewhere between 4 and 5. But if you look at the bottom right corner of the country, that's the state of Victoria, and I'm right in the middle.
Right. So you said that the closest a fire had got to you was 50 k's.
Yes.
Australia as a whole, how much of it and what sort of areas are burning or have burned since September?
Well, it started in New South Wales in September. And I'm going to continue talking to you. We're going to go out in the backyard because I'm going to feed the magpies. So you'll probably hear the magpies go ballistic in a minute when they see me with their breakfast. And there's fires in Western Australia. In fact, the Nullarbor highway was closed off for 12 days because of the fires. And the state of Victoria's got fires. South Australia, Kangaroo Island's totally fucked. They've lost, what was the number? 8,000 koalas, something like that. And one of the good things was 2 teenagers, late teens boys, driving in their car, just stopped and were grabbing koalas, and they showed a video. They got like 10, 12 koalas they've stuffed in the car they've saved. But I'm not sure about the Northern Territory. I don't know if they've got fires, but Queensland did. New South Wales still does. Victoria does. And the sky is quite hazy here, which is actually the fires from the east. We're talking fires 400 to 500 kilometres away from me are causing haze all over the place. And there's been fires on the mainland in South Australia. I'm not too sure how much. So I did see a story about a guy parked right at the T-junction in Coolgardie, where you turn south to head down to Norseman to come across the Nullarbor to South Australia, and he'd been stuck there for 4 days because the police had just shut the whole area down because of fires there. And there were about 250 trucks and cars and caravans and all sorts of shit at Cocklebiddy. They were stuck there for a week. So it's fires are a normal part of life on this continent, because a lot of the plants, they need fire to germinate and spread their spores. But this is not this is not a normal fire season. It's not usually like this.
Would you say it's twice as bad? Would you say it's
I don't
twice
know.
as big an area? What
No.
how would you?
No, it's not 2 or 3 or 4. It's a lot more. I couldn't give you an exact number. It might be 10 times or more. I don't know.
Wow.
I can hear those bloody magpies and I can't see them. They're usually around. I'll just call them. Where have you been? I got one. Where's the rest of them? Come on, mate. Well, don't sit there shitting on me path, you fucking vandal. He's shitting on my path. I'm trying to feed him, ungrateful bastard.
It's Raconteurs news. We're feeding magpies all the way in Australia.
I don't know where the rest of them are.
And he's in the future as well.
When Rob settled down and finished feeding his birds, I've got a good question.
No, keep asking me. I'm just, I can do a couple of things at once because I'm Australian. I'm not English. See.
There you go.
So you knew it was coming, Ade. Come on.
Of course. Hey, I'll line them up. You knock them down. 2 or 3 weeks ago, I watched. I listened to a podcast and Max Egan was on. And his, if I got the gist of it right.
Hello, mate. Here's another one.
What the
Someone's
spraying
trying
that
to strangle poor old Jason. Someone's strangling him. Hello, mate. I got one 2 feet from me now. He's up here with me. Yes, mate. I've got it for you. Here you go.
What's it? My dog's going mad.
Yeah, it's magpies, man. He just come up and he's sitting next to me on the ramp and he's just taking it off the spoon.
These
magpies breed in my tree. That's why they're familiar with me.
They're not Jewish, are they?
Hey?
They're not Jewish, are they? I just thought I'd get that in just for Webber because he keeps talking about Jews.
Some of you people, I swear, there's just no helping some of you people. I tell you what, unbelievable. Yeah, look, the rest is here, mate. Look, don't chuck that away. Look. So, what was your question there, Ade?
Right. I listened to a podcast that got
about Max Egan, right?
Max was on, and what Max was basically saying was when there was chemtrailing, they're basically blowing out the back of these things. Essentially, the stuff they make sparklers out of, that kids have on Guy Fawkes night and make. Yeah. Basically, that's the mix they were spraying: barium, lithium, magnesium, yada yada. And then the natural fires have come along, but because of this, they've just gone crazy. And then he said the final kick in is that they've used it as an excuse to blame climate change.
Well, I can't say anything because I don't know much about chemtrails. What, mate? You want some more?
Yes, please.
Not you boxhead. You can have raw lamb mince if you want. I'll email it to you, but I don't think you like it too much.
Raw lamb mince?
Yeah, no, there you go.
Thanks. I get my lamb from New Zealand.
Is that right? Yeah, well, I wouldn't if I were you. It's got special seasoning. But anyway, haven't you heard about the Kiwis in their Wellington boots?
I think we've got similar sort of Welsh and Irish jokes mixed in there as well, haven't we?
Yeah. You know that the Melbourne Cup has been won by New Zealand horses quite a few times, don't you?
Yeah.
True story. It's not a joke.
Go on.
And you know what? You know why New Zealand horses are that fast?
Because they have to run away from the trainers trying to fuck them.
No, because they see the Kiwis with the woolies. Yeah. Hey, do you know how far a kiwi can wee? A kiwi? You know how far he can kiwi? It depends on which way the wind's going. Anyway, I don't know about the chemtrail thing, but there's a lot of to and fro about geoengineering, and yet the director of the CIA was openly talking about it last year in a press conference, right out in front of everybody.
Right.
So, and he was suggesting they should do it, and I'm open to the idea, but I don't have any opinion either way. I don't have enough information. So I didn't see Max's video.
Yeah, I've not seen it either.
The reason I sort of ask is whenever I see anything on the so-called news, the first thing that I always ask when I look at it now is, so if that's true, then who's benefiting from this? Right. Or if it isn't true, who's benefiting from this story being out there, even though it's not true?
Wasn't it Churchill that said nothing happens in politics by accident?
Yeah, but who would benefit from these huge fires? Would there be any financial, political, or pain of any kind?
There would be political mileage. I don't know about the financial. That would depend, because Australia's a funny place. The general population would appear to be mainly composed of dead shits who have got the IQ of a flat tire on a submarine, and they've got the backbone of a jellyfish. The government can do anything to them, and yeah, they don't do anything. And in the meantime, in Paris, Macron has said, oh, we're going to put the pension up. And the French said, no, you're not. And now he's not. Why? Because the French have got some backbone and they've got some IQ. They went out and said, no, you get fucked. The millions of them in the streets have shut Paris down. That would never happen here. The closest we ever had was, I don't know if it was 10,000 or 15,000 or something, marched in Sydney because of these new lockout laws. You wouldn't be able to buy alcohol after midnight because obviously getting shit-faced is more important than the fucking country. So the political stuff, politics here is all messed up. Everything's right-wing. The Labor Party is normally a left-wing party in the normal sense of meaning, but the right wing of the Labor Party runs it. So they're more right-wing than they're meant to be. And the right wing of the Liberal Party is controlling that, which just happens to be religious. So you got religious right-wing people controlling them. So everything gets slewed to the right. And, you know, it's a case of, like I shared before, what was it, a couple of days ago, about, what's his name again? That fucking asshole from Western Australia. Oh, Andrew Forrest, known as Twiggy. He's the guy behind Fortescue Metals. If it was up to me, I wouldn't even burn him at the stake because that's too fast. I'd just tie him to the stake and fucking leave him in the sun. This guy, his ancestor was the first Premier of Western Australia. There's about half a dozen families run that state regardless of who's in Parliament. And he's one of them. He's one of the more powerful ones. He helps to write public policy. I was back in Western Australia at my mum's place and I saw this thing on TV where he had written some public policy for the WA government, which at that time was Liberal as well, advising them that they should close Aboriginal settlements that aren't viable. Now, just be aware, viable is a business term.
Yeah, of course. Right?
So the idea was we'll shut this one and we'll move those guys to there. There's a problem. These are tribal lands. You can't just grab tribe A and stick them on tribe B's land. You have feuds. And lo and behold, guess what's under tribe A's land? Minerals. He's Fortescue Minerals. So there's a lot of dodgy shit that goes on in this country. Anything that interferes with big industry, doesn't matter whether Labor or Liberals running the country, they'll grind you down faster than anything. So there could be a lot of political mileage in this. I don't know. But we're facing dozens and dozens of towns through parts of Queensland and New South Wales having to be abandoned because they don't have water, at the same time as Chinese companies are actually sucking the water up, and bottling it and selling it. And in Queensland, Adani has got this fucking coal mine. I had a look yesterday because a friend of mine was telling me about, oh, it's not that big and it's not that and it's not this. And so we were talking about it, and I looked it up. This Carmichael mine, let's have a look. Here it is here. Let's have a look. I'll tell you how big this mining area is. Right. The mine site covers 447 square kilometres. And they are saying that they will consume 12 billion litres of water a year. And this is in a country where we've got droughts. So we've got water for a coal mine. The Darling River has run dry. And not currently, but before, that fucking Darling River, they suck the water off for cotton. They're growing fucking cotton. Why would you grow cotton in an area where there's drought, where you've got to suck all the water? So the Darling River's been run dry. You can walk around on the fucking riverbed. That river is part of Aboriginal culture, as well as everybody relies on that river. So, you know, the minister in charge, Little Proud, is connected to the people buying the water or selling the water and getting water rights. This country is fucked. You have to understand the mentality. If we go back in time, in 1865, the Parliament at Westminster passed a law called the Colonial Laws Validity Act, applied to Australia, because the Australian colonies were passing totalitarian laws that were considered to be repugnant to the laws of England, like Magna Carta and the Bill of Rights and the Petition of Rights and Habeas Corpus Act and all of that. So they passed this law that anything that was repugnant to the laws of England is void. And this is the British government, obviously the beacon of fucking freedom and democracy in the world, and they're concerned about these guys being totalitarian. And it's interesting because the Australians are like the Irish. You can't fucking trust them in charge of their own people. They'll grind you into the dirt in seconds. So there's a lot of dodgy shit going on. People are selling water that they're getting from areas that are in drought, and that doesn't even include the fracking. There's fracking all through Queensland. WA has got a little bit of it. This country is insane. So all of these things add up to the fires. I mean, we've got droughts and we've got people who couldn't run a bath with fucking video instruction. And these are supposedly the leaders. It's like, what? But Australians deserve it because they won't do anything. What happens in France? You want to fuck with the French? Not a problem. We'll take you on. Now, this morning I saw a conversation going on about the current protests in Iran, and I compared them to Romania in Bucharest in 1989. Remember Nicolae Ceausescu?
Yep.
In one day, the army shot dead 300 civilians. And I've never discovered what happened that night. I've asked Romanians, they didn't know. Something happened that night. A deal was done and the army changed sides. The next day, the civilians in the army bust open the gates to the presidential palace and Ceausescu's going to Cactus City. That was the end of communism in Romania. That's never going to happen here. So I don't know what the fuck's going on.
What? Who's Super Leader just put in chat room? Can you ask Rob if it's anything to do with Gina Reinhardt? I don't know. That name's not familiar to me. Is it to you?
Yes, Gina Reinhardt's the daughter of Lang Hancock, who was a big mining magnate and a piece of shit. You can see him on YouTube on TV in Western Australia, on fucking television in 1984, sitting there saying that we should put something in the water that will sterilize the Aboriginals. The ones that we can actually civilize, we bring them into the city, and the rest we sterilize them. This is on fucking television. He also wanted to use nuclear weapons up in the north of WA to mine, and, you know...
To mine?
Yes. Yeah, you sink a shaft, put the bomb down,
yeah,
and then everything's loose and it's much easier to get it out. Don't worry about the radiation. Who gives a fuck about that? So
Send the Aboriginals down.
Don't even fucking joke. That's probably what he would have done.
Yeah.
So it's a case of Gina Rinehart's one of the richest women around. She's lost a lot of weight. She used to have more chins than a fucking Hong Kong phone book. She was repulsive. So have you ever heard of priapism?
No.
It's where you get a hard-on for days and it won't go down. Well, I found the cure. We just take them around to Gina's house. Fucking blow up. That'll fix them. But this woman is repulsive in more than just appearance. She fought her own children in the Supreme Court of Western Australia over the family trusts left by her father. And it's like, oh, how much money do you need? She's making millions of dollars an hour through all of these companies.
wow.
Yeah, and in fact, I think it's called Hancock Prospecting. So she, as far as we know, she hasn't donated anything to the fire relief. This Andrew Forrest has donated 70 million, which 50 million goes to his foundation into research on forest fires and how to fight them, because apparently no one in the world knows how to fight forest fires. And 10 million is to raise an army of 1,250 volunteers to go anywhere in Australia and fight fires. And it's like, what? Get the fuck out of here. I was actually born at 8 a.m. on a Friday morning, and it wasn't fucking last Friday morning. So in the meantime, do you know what's going on? I'm getting messages from all around the world. Germans, Israelis, Arabs, Iranians, Americans, Brits, all sorts of people want to know what the hell's going on here. We've got people donating money to try and help. We've got Metallica, we've got Elton John, we've got Bette Midler, we've got all sorts of people donating money. And it's like, hang on, just back up the truck. Foreigners are more interested in the welfare of my home than the fucking Prime Minister. What's going on here? If it was up to me, you know what I'd do? I'd weld all the doors shut in Parliament House and fucking bomb it. Just take them all out. There's probably less than a handful of people in the federal parliament that are of any use to us. And funny enough, one of them's an ex-spook, and I don't even like spooks. And he's one of the best guys in the parliament. He's from Tasmania. He's a senator. So he's actually a decent guy. The majority of them are just waft-hams. You know what a waft-ham is, don't you?
Waste of fucking time and money.
See? Ade's on the money there.
Yeah.
And so the foreign people are more interested in the welfare of the animals and the people on this continent than the Australian government. But as I've said to people, if you've got something working well and you need to turn it into a clusterfuck, just ask the Australian government for help. They'll clusterfuck it for you very quickly. And if you're even more desperate, get the WA government involved. If you got the West Australian government to manage the Sahara, guaranteed in 6 months there'd be a sand shortage, right? Nobody would know where the sand went. They would make possession of sand a criminal offence. They'd pay 3 times to get the sand back what the sand went for, and then they'd spend millions of dollars on a PR program to tell you how good they are at sand conservation. That's the sort of bullshit that goes on here. And people come here and they have a holiday and they go, oh, yeah, great place. It's inhabited by nutcases. And it seems the nuttier you are, the higher up the fucking chain you go. You know, and Scummo is the worst prime minister ever to infest our parliament. Now, I got to give credit here to Tony Abbott, who's a past prime minister, 2 prime ministers ago. I don't like the guy. I never liked him. But I have to say that I respect Tony Abbott, because guess where he is right now? He's with the New South Wales Rural Fire Service fighting the fires. When he lost his seat in the election fucking 3 years ago or whatever it was, he went back to the Rural Fire Service and he's been fighting the fires. So I don't like the guy, but I respect him because he's out there fighting the fires. He was actually spotted in a town yesterday or the day before. They came in on a break. He was in the pub pulling the pints. So I respect that guy for doing what he's doing, even if I don't like him. These other Scummo, he goes to a town called Cobargo, which you may have seen in the news, because this has gone all around the world. He walks in and he's talking to this young woman and she won't shake his hand. So he reaches down and grabs her hand and forcibly shakes her hand. Well, she's pregnant. She's got a little kid with her. Her house is burnt down. She says, I'll shake your hand if you give us help. He turns around and walks away from her. Some of the footage that's not seen in all of them, he's got his ASIO bodyguards with him. And ASIO just means Australian Secret Intelligence Organisation. It's a really spiffy way of saying dead shits in black suits.
I'm just going to say intelligence. That's the word that always gets me.
Yeah. And they've got a VIP protection unit and they're with the Prime Minister, and some guy's going off. One of these guys pushes him up against a brick wall. I'm like, hang on, who the fuck are you to touch him? He's not committing any offences. This guy's going off, telling him to fuck off out of town. So then a couple more, they're telling him, you get out of town. We don't want you here. Your history, you're out. You're nothing. So now, apparently, they're sending the police in ahead of time to clear anybody out that might cause trouble before he rolls up. How's that for you? So he was in Victoria last week and he went up to Albury-Wodonga with 50 Victorian riot police and he went straight to the military base at Bandiana, I suppose it's at. It used to be the School of Military Engineering. And he didn't talk to anyone else. He just went to the military base. So I have seen a story on Facebook that's not confirmed yet that the reason the people at Cobargo were angry is because the Rural Fire Service had got everybody in town, put them in the community centre, everyone in the community centre, surrounded it with fire trucks and kept the whole area wet while the fires destroyed the town, and they kept them alive by putting them in the rec centre. So this guy rolls up to Cobargo for a photo opportunity. These people have lost their homes and businesses. You know, then he goes to another town in New South Wales. There's a firefighter sitting down. He wants to shake his hand. The guy refuses. So he grabs his opposite hand and shakes it anyway. That in this country, that's called common assault. You don't go putting your hands on people when they say no. So this guy is actually really undoing himself very quickly through all of his antics, going to Hawaii and doing this. But it's coming out. They're refusing help. Then they've put this fund up for compensating the firefighters. And you should see all the hoops you've got to jump through. It's like being in the fucking ADF again. Well, were you deployed overseas? Yes or no? Were you north of the 26th parallel? Did you see combat? Were you fucking injured? And it's like, what are you talking about? So it's getting to the point where I'm not sure that this guy is going to make it to the end of February as Prime Minister. But the scary part is if he's replaced, the most aggressive and volatile guy in the parliament likely to get it is Peter Dutton. And, you know, you want to know about a head on someone like a sack full of doorknobs. This guy, there's no possible way, even though he's a multi-millionaire, he could ever afford to have a license for his unlawful head. I'm telling you now. He is sitting on a super portfolio, Home Affairs. He's got all of the Commonwealth security agencies, including the Australian Federal Police under him. He's like Reichsfuhrer Himmler. in that aspect. And it's not healthy. The guy's a corrupt ex-Queensland Police drug squad guy that's got more money than he should have for a cop. You know what that means. And he's breaching the rules of holding an office of profit under the Crown. You can't profit from the office. This guy could be the next Prime Minister, because I don't see that Scummo's got long to go. No one wants anything to do with him. And he's a liability. I mean, if they had an election, they'd probably elect a fucking dead guy before this guy, you know? But as I said, Australian politics is very strange. He only got in because they did a deal with a party, Clive Palmer's, I think it's United Australia or some bullshit. And I don't think you guys have got preferential voting in Britain, have you?
No.
Right. Well, here, if let's say Ade stands for the seat, but he doesn't get it, his preferences, he can send them anywhere he wants. He might send them to Jason. I didn't want to vote for Jason because he's a nugget. I wanted Ade, but Ade didn't get enough votes, so he puts his preferences to Jason. Right. So they distribute them all over the place. That's how these clowns got back in. So it's a case of there's so many things contributing to the ineptness, this guy's religious beliefs, cutting of funding, refusing of help. And I don't believe that this guy's going to survive. And we haven't even hit the hot period yet. February, March is when we hit the hot period for the fires. Oh. Not yet. Yeah.
Really? I thought it was the end of the season.
Nah. Last year, it was 48 in my town. So you can imagine what it's like when it's 48. And in fact, hang on a second. When we were on red alert 5 weeks ago, it was 40, and we had 140 kilometre an hour winds. And we did get a fire to the south, and it turned the whole sky red. Because you can imagine what it's like when it's 40 Celsius with 140 kilometre an hour winds.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're not even into the actual hottest part of the fire period yet.
What I wanted to ask you, Rob, is all these people making these donations saying that Serena Williams just won a tournament in New Zealand and pledged all the winnings. And but where is this money going? What is the fund? Who's it run by?
There's not just one fund. There's multiple funds, and I don't know what the answer to that is. I'm very suspicious of any money being donated in this country because you can't trust Australian politicians. They are that crooked. If you fucking nail gunned them to the bed frame, you come in the morning, the bed frame's crooked. So I don't know who's running these funds, but I would be very suspicious of them. I think this is just too high profile for people to get stupid and start messing with the funds. You know what I mean? This is just there's too many people out there in the world who are interested. And there's more to come.
We had a similar situation with the Grenfell fire.
Yes.
Everybody thought that was too big, to be raided or whatever they done, pilfered from it. But it's clear that it has been because the money's not gone to the places that it was supposed to.
But this is worldwide. People are from all over the world are disturbed about this. We've got, how's this? Do you know who deployed to Australia yesterday or the day before? The Papua New Guinea Army. The Army of Papua New Guinea has sent 100 or 150 guys here. And it's like, wow. We've got people all over the world holding prayer vigils, getting donations, all sorts of stuff's going on. There's a zoo in Israel that has Australian animals in it because parts of Israel have got a very similar climate to us, and Australian plants and that will grow there, like eucalyptus trees. So they've got Australian animals there, and they've got a fundraiser going, and they're sending some of their people here. There's a big zoo in Los Angeles that's got a lot of Australian animals. They're coming to help to rehabilitate the animals. So it's I don't know. I think there's too much public scrutiny for people to start dipping into it, and it looks like there could be a royal commission into this. And of course, royal commission. Of course, we're a separate sovereign country, but the head of state's in another country. Not funny about that. Don't even mention that. So, of course, Parliament, which is the government of the day, they draw the rules for the Royal Commission. This is what you're allowed to talk about. You can't talk about this, and this is what the limits are. Oh, okay.
Right. Yep.
Jason just got better looking somehow. I don't know how. So, it's crazy what's allowed to go on this continent. But Australians won't do anything.
Right. Is it really that bad? I mean,
Yes.
do you think there's no tipping point at all?
I don't know, but see, on the same token, if you have a look at the French Revolution and the Russian Revolution, we're not talking about the entire population wanted to get rid of the royals. It was a small percentage in both of those countries that got involved, less than 10% of the people. So you don't have to have the whole population going, which is good, because if we had to get the entire Australian population going, I'd just say, fuck it, I'm going, bye. You got more chance of an ice cube salesman in Saudi Arabia becoming a millionaire than these guys getting off their ass and getting into a big group and doing anything. You know, right. I could fix things in one day. You know what I would do? I've said this to people. Listen, all you got to do is go to the, is it the Transport Workers Union still? I don't know. I think it's still the TWU. You get them to get...
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I don't know what they're called. They were the Transport Workers Union. I'm not sure if they're still called that here.
Transport, sorry, over here it's Transport and General Workers Union.
Yeah.
Right,
that's because your POM's got to always be different, see? But anyway, I said all we got to do is get enough trucks to get onto all of the major roads into Melbourne, bring them in at 4 o'clock in the morning, drive them across the roads, turn the truck off, pull the key out and go home. If you had, like the Westgate Bridge is the main route coming into the city from the west, if you shut that Westgate Bridge down, you had 50 trucks on both sides of that bridge, all locked up, and there's a sign, call this number. Guaranteed the problem would be fixed by midday. The government would not last. If you shut all of the ways in and out of the city, all of the major routes, they would fold. So you start talking to people, and guess what they keep saying? Oh, I can't do that because I've got bills to pay and I've got a mortgage.
No, but
so
Rob,
you know what I tell them? You know what I tell them, Jason? You keep sucking the red, white and blue dick and don't fucking complain to me. Because I'm nice like that. I'm really subtle and understanding and gentle. Do you believe that?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Now, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, oh God, do you know, my brain's just gone. I was going to say something. I was going to say, I can't remember.
That's not something that's just happened. Your brain just went. It didn't just went.
It's been went for years.
Oh God! You know what? What actually were we talking about just preceding that? What was the line that was going?
I was talking about trucks blocking up all of the major routes.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. We had a similar situation in 2000 when we had the fuel protests, and lorries did pretty much the same thing, but they didn't go far enough. And the problem is that the government are so good at propaganda that it's we're going to right. So now we're not going to have enough diesel for ambulances because there's a blockade at a refinery, and they can't get hold of diesel. So there's queues at garages. So it's the fear factor, and the fear factor is because people aren't used to other people taking action in such a direct manner, and because of the propaganda, the enthusiasm that starts off, it fades off, and then it really needs a big, massive blow, doesn't it?
It has to be consistent. Like you were saying, it's got to be consistent, not just a spurt. But see, it's funny you say about the government's good at propaganda. There's a section of the Home Office. I don't know if it still exists or if it does, if it's got a different name. But in World War I and World War II, it was called the Political Warfare Executive. I bet you never heard of it, have you?
No.
No, I didn't think you would have. You know the stories they made up in World War I about the Germans were nailing kittens to church doors and raping nuns, and they were turning corpses of British soldiers into soap in Belgium. That was them. And they were making up stories in both of those wars. So do you know who was involved in that? Psychologists and all sorts of people.
Yeah, just to get you to hate the enemy.
Yeah, in fact, I think, I'll look this up. I think George Bernard Shaw was asked to get involved. Hang on, let me just...
It's all about dehumanizing the other, isn't it?
Yes. Let's have a look. Not that fucking 1966 commentary version, you Google communist. Jeez, look at this.
Nothing wrong with 1966. It was a very good year, especially March.
Actually, that's true. 1966 was a good year. Eric Cantona was born.
Yes, and
remember the ads? Remember the big ads?
The what?
The big ads. They were all over England. 1966 is the year that Eric was born, and you guys all getting all nugget about England winning the World Cup in the same year, and Adidas were putting that up all over the place. 1966 was a good year. Eric Cantona was born. Everyone's going, what the?
Anyway, nice, because I was born.
Yeah.
Oh,
is that 1966 or 1866?
1766.
Ah, right. You probably saw Bonnie Prince Charlie in the Highlands, didn't you?
Yeah, he was an ugly little bastard.
Yeah, that's true.
You were talking about that warfare thing, that section. We have
political warfare executive.
That's it, right? We have a similar. The BBC have got.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
The BBC have got what they call the nudge unit.
Yeah.
Okay.
The nudge unit is so they formulate ways to nudge people in certain political directions.
Right.
It's called the nudge units, and it exists. If you want to have a look at it, BBC nudge unit. So it's
not a load of pictures of good-looking women that are worth nudging to. It's nothing like that, I promise.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not a blue waffle.
Oh boy,
sorry.
It's just very hard to get good help anymore.
But that does exist. I'll tell you what else they do as well. When all the stuff was kicking off in China, there weren't. I mean, you saw the odd little bit on the news that I saw, but there wasn't. Bit? Sorry,
which bit kicking off in China? Which bit are you talking about?
Yeah, Hong Kong. I think he's talking about.
Yes. Sorry. Yeah, Hong Kong.
Right.
But it didn't seem to be like, oh my God, this is really happening. It's really bad. There just seemed to be, I don't know. A better example. You know, when you were talking about them kicking off in France 2 or 3 weeks ago?
Yes.
I don't think I saw one or heard one thing about it. But that's not a good judge, because I specifically never aim to watch the news. If I happen to be somewhere where there's some on, or in a car where there's some, then fair enough. So I don't hear about everything by all means, but it doesn't seem to be, you know, all that stuff that was going off in France and that. So sometimes the way they'll twist things is to just not report on it at all.
Yeah, big blackout.
Yeah,
you
just
know,
like
and it's a
nothing to
case
see,
of like that time all the world leaders were pictured marching together in the streets of Paris, and it looked like there were lots of people behind them. And then the camera goes up a bit, and there's only like 100 of them.
Yeah.
And you got to remember, a lot of this is involving psychologists and psychiatrists because they know how to manipulate people. You know, and it's just, it's interesting to see what people think, because they say, "Oh, the government wouldn't do that."
No,
Why?
you wouldn't do that.
Right. And that's the problem. They wouldn't do it, so they think other people wouldn't. And it's like, right, so do you think Scummo got to be Prime Minister because he's a nice guy? No, he's fucking very, very, what's the word? Ruthless.
Mm.
You don't get to that position because you're nice. So it's just, I mean, and then you get other people go, "Oh, well, the Australian Army would never shoot people." Really?
What's the point of them being there then?
No. In Australia, they wouldn't shoot Australians. I'm like, really? What do you think happened in 1974 after Cyclone Tracy in Darwin? They shot 4 looters dead. And I know that because they told me that when I was a recruit. Under martial law, when there's a curfew, you can shoot looters. So it turns out one of my friends, I was chatting to him a couple of weeks ago, he was there. He saw one of them get shot. He came out of a store or someone's house with a TV, wouldn't put it down and tried to run off. And guess what happened? He got 7.62 millimeter justice. Looters get shot. So if you think the Australian Army won't shoot Australians, you are on drug. Drug is bad, don't drug. They'll do it. Why would they not? It's this strange thing. We are conditioned to believe we're better than everybody else. And when I say we, I don't mean Australians. I'm talking about white people in general. We're better than other people. Oh, we wouldn't do that. Those guys would do it. We wouldn't do it. Why? Why wouldn't we do it? You know, I just saw a video on Facebook during the night of some guy in Leeds filming the cops at some car crash or something, and 2 of them just go over and start laying into him, beat the shit out of him on the footpath. He was just standing there filming him. He wasn't connected to it at all.
It might have been Super Leeds. If it were, he deserved it.
But, you know, it's a case of, I don't know why people think we're different to them. We're humans. They're humans. It's human instinct. And what's the most common thing? Oh, I'm just doing my job. Get a new job, you bastard.
Yeah.
You know?
I agree with that. I agree. There are. It's the order followers, isn't it? That I think that's
right. Exactly. If there was no order followers, we wouldn't have all these problems.
Well, nobody's allowed, even if they had, but nobody's allowed to have any common sense anymore. There's got to be a procedure for everything.
Yeah. And I mean, how's this for you? We're in a drought, and in New South Wales, it's been for 7 years. So there's a dam in Queensland, and the dam has got structural problems. So what they do with the water? Pumped it into the sea. Yeah, exactly. They pumped it into the sea. Millions and millions of litres. And then there was an inquiry into this water catchment agreement. Water from New South Wales is going to South Australia, and they're getting so much, that's getting pumped into the sea. And they got this idiot, and I'm being nice, just believe it or not, and they were asking her, it was a Senate inquiry by the looks of what I saw, why would you do that? She says, because it's the law. It's like, oh boy, it's fucking water. You know, and it's just, this is the thing. Like Jason said, it's the order followers. Oh, I'm just doing my job. I'm just following the law. I'm just following orders. So say no, you dead shit.
My missus had one this morning. She took me to.
She had a dam pumped out.
No, she didn't have dam pumps out. She had an incident with an order follower, shall we say?
Okay.
But she's pretty clued up, because she's married to me. Obviously, she's going to be fucking highly intelligent.
Well, I'm not going to comment on that on the basis that I could incriminate myself.
Well, when we got to, I decided, because I usually take my Spaz chariot, right? But because it's from the drop to into the thing, I decided instead of having to put that in car, I just took my pushchair. So she's pulls up and gets my pushchair out at back, and then I get in it, and then she goes off to park. And she sat at this place waiting for somebody to move. And this bloke comes up, knock on. Well, you can't park there. She says, I've got a disabled. It doesn't matter. You got a disabled badge. You can't park there. You can't park there. And she says, I'm waiting for a space. Oh no, you can't park there. And she went. Oh, she just shut window and says, I'm not fucking talking to you, right? And he stands in front of the car and takes number plate like he's going to fucking do a ticket.
Yeah.
She wound window down and says, give me as many fucking tickets as you want. You'll not get fuck all from us, because it's an invoice begging letter. And so she parked up and then got in, and she actually rang me. So I'm fucking fuming, the fucking bastard. Not that she swears very often, but no, it really boiled the piss. But that's just an example today.
Yeah. I had a situation about 3 years ago. I went to Bunnings, which is a huge warehouse. It's a fucking warehouse. It's a hardware store, and they're warehouse size. And apparently they've adopted the Walmart tactic of when you're leaving, they want to check your receipt. Now, I didn't know that, and I'm hard of hearing because thanks to the ADF, with lots of things going bang and loud engines and radios going in your ear all the time, I've got hearing loss. So I'm walking out of the store, and apparently this woman tried to stop me. And I got a policy. Even if I hear you, if you yell out "oi" at me, I keep going because my name's not fucking oi. And so I was walking out, and apparently she was following me, yelling at me. And I don't respond to people yelling at me either. I'm not in the army anymore, and you're not an NCO. You yell at me, you can get fucked. I've just got this funny attitude. So I walked out, and there's these guys having a sausage sizzle, which you probably heard they do this all the time here for charity. So this guy...
Just what? Hang on. A bunch of guys having a sausage sizzle.
It's a barbecue where they fucking...
Oh, right, okay. A barbecue would have done. Sausage sizzle just gives me a whole different mental picture.
And you see, now his true mentality is coming out, and it's just out there. Everybody knows now. But anyway, so this guy steps in front of me, goes, "Hey, mate, she wants to talk to you." I turn around, so this woman comes up to me and she goes, "I want to see your receipt." I said, "No, thanks." So I turned around, I kept walking, and she's yelling at me. We're out in the fucking car park. So she follows me to my car. She says, "I have to see your receipt." And I said, "Well, I've already paid for it. If you think I've stolen something, call the cops." So she walks up and stands in front of my car, and she says, "You're not going anywhere." I said, "Well, guess what? In about 30 seconds, I'm getting in that car, I'll start, and I'm going. If you're in front, you're underneath." So I jumped in the car, started up. She figured out I wasn't joking. And you know what? I would have run her over.
Yeah.
So I come home and I rang up the store. I got the actual manager of the whole thing. I said, "Who the fuck are you people think you are? This woman's followed me through the car park yelling at me. That's slander. That makes it look like I'm a fucking thief." Then she stands in front of my car and stops me from leaving. That's the tort of false imprisonment or unlawful detention. "Do you realise I could sue you guys?" And he goes, "Oh, we never told him to do that." I said, You better get her and fucking train her. I could have just walked up and punched her in the head. Some people would. I could have run her over. And he said, oh, we never told them to do anything like that. And I said, you know full well, once I've paid, you've got no right to stop me unless you've got some sort of idea I'm stealing things. He goes, oh, yeah, that's right. It's a Walmart tactic.
And if you had run her over and killed her, you'd have got away with it because you could have said you couldn't hear her.
Yeah, it's possible, but I wouldn't have killed her. I would have just driven forward slowly and knocked her over. See,
well, yeah,
I'm not. You know, I'm not like normal people.
Yeah, but neither are Jason or I. So
right, but when shit happens, I'm prepared to go down and take everybody with me. I don't give a shit, and that's the difference. That's why people don't. They don't want to fuck around. Go and ask WA police. They leave me alone. You know, it's a case of if they want to mess around, hey, I'll take yous on. I've got friends could tell you all sorts of stories about the time we've gone to the police station and I'm verbaling them in their police station, and stories where I've abused them on the side of the road. I've had them threaten to pull pistols on me, so I turned my back on them and walked off. All sorts of stuff. I just don't give a shit because I don't accept that behaviour, and it's these fucking order followers.
Mm.
But then you get these people, as you call them in England specifically. I don't know about Scotland and Wales, but in England you call them jobs worse. Jumped up little shits that if you put a uniform on them, they'd think they're fucking Heinrich Himmler. And it's like, you have to show me that receipt. I don't have to do fuck all. Bye.
Yeah.
You know, I'm very, very difficult to get along with. I'm in a store and they say, would you like to use the self-checkout? What's the number one thing people don't like to do when they're out in public? Make a scene.
Yeah.
They don't like to draw attention to themselves. So this happened to me at Woolworths in Milliara, which is in Melbourne. Would you like to use the self-checkout? And at loud volume, I said, fuck no. Everybody's looking. I said, why would I want to do that? Oh, I don't know. Well, I'll put you guys out of a job. And Woolworths is a multinational corporation. They're fucking trillionaires. Fuck Woolworths. And everyone's going, oh, okay. And I said, and not only that, this price on this object here takes into account your labour. And I don't work for you people. So if I'm going to check myself out, I want the labour taken off and I want a discount. Am I going to get a discount? They go, no. I said, well, fuck Woolworths. And fuck your self-checkout too. So guess what happens next? All these workers start looking around to make sure there's no bosses. They're all coming over and shaking my hand. Thanks, man. We appreciate it. One of the workers comes up and says, how about if I operate? I'll go, oh, that's totally different. If you're operating it, you got a job.
Yeah.
So they run me through. I don't care about making scenes. You should see some of the scenes I've made. I had the assistant state solicitor for the state of WA bailed up outside a courtroom in front of 3 cops accusing him of witness tampering and perverting the course of justice. And I was yelling at him that loud they could hear me in the courtroom. I don't care. If people want to fuck around, hey, I'm happy to go to war. I'm a one-man suicide brigade. I'll take you all down. So these order followers, I fucking hate them. That's why everything's fucked, right? And everybody talks about the Third Reich. The only reason people could have been put into camps is because of order followers.
Yep.
What would happen if everybody said, nah, we're not fucking putting them in the camps? There wouldn't be any camps. That's not difficult.
Yeah. Completely agree. Completely agree.
So that's my rant for the next 10 minutes. I'll think of another one in a minute.
But nobody's allowed to have any common sense.
Indeed.
There's got to be a procedure that it's all. I find it hard to believe that people's IQ have dropped so low that they haven't got any common sense, or is it? And is that why? Have people just become more thick than they used to be?
I think,
or has the world
something like
around
that, yeah.
thick people become more more complicated. I don't know.
It's interesting because I used to go to the local pub and have a meal because they used to have really good cook there, and I love a roast. So I'd go to the pub once a week, have a good meal. And whatever you do, don't let me near a television that's fucking turned on because you'll regret it. Because either one or two things or both could happen. At the very least, I'm going to be yelling, and at the very most, I could throw things. So I'm at the pub, and I'm standing at the bar, and I'm eating my roast, and I look up, and the news is on. I forget that I'm in the pub, and there's like 30 people in there. I look up, and I see some politician. I can't even remember. Fuck off, you lying bastard. And I'm yelling at this guy. All the people in the pub have stopped what they're doing. They're looking at me. Lucky I know the owner. You know, so it's a case of I don't like this shit. And then you say, like, I was at the pub this other time, and there was a woman from my street there. She actually used to live just down the road from me in my street, and she was there. So there was someone on the TV, and she made a comment about this woman. I said, "Who is she?" And she looked at me and "What do you mean?" I said, "I've never heard of her. Who is she?" "Oh, she won. It was some reality show that she'd been in, and she won. And I'd never heard of this show." And she said, "What do you mean you never heard of it?" I said, "I don't have a TV." And she looked at me like I said something unbelievable to her. She said, "What? You don't have a TV?" I said, "Fuck the TV. What would I want one of them for?" And she just stood there with her mouth open looking at me like not having a TV is insanity. I haven't had a TV for a decade. What the fuck do I want one for? You know, I've got this strange belief. If I wanted to be indoctrinated, I'd go back to the army. I don't want to put some electronic device that I have to purchase and run off my power so you can indoctrinate me in my house. Why would I want to do that? So something as simple as I don't have a TV was a big deal for her. And you explain simple things to people, and what we have to understand is this. You tell someone something, they may not understand it, so they are going to try and assess it from their level of understanding of what you've said. What you've said and what they understand you've said is often different. If this individual is just not getting it, what's the common thing? You're a fucking moron. Do you know how often I've been called a moron on Facebook?
Many times, I would imagine.
I'd dread to think.
It's unbelievable. And I don't give a shit because some unknown dipshit on, you know, so-called social media calling me names, it's like, oh, yeah, I'm really going to eat my heart out about that. You know, I know that I'm not a moron. So I could read, I could write, and I could spell, and I could count and do addition by the time I was 4. So I'm not concerned about people calling me a moron, but it's just amazing that, you know, people don't understand what it is you're talking about. So rather than say, Ade, I don't understand what you mean. Could you tell me what that means? They'd prefer to just go, Ade, you're a fucking moron. And I think people are getting dumber. I mean, I loved mathematics when I was at school to the point where, you know, the teacher would give us algebra or whatever. I'd run out of exercises to do. I'd have to sit there for 20 minutes in a 1-hour class with nothing to do. So I can calculate things faster in my head than the people can punch the numbers in at the checkout. You know, and it's just, and they have to use the checkout to calculate the change from whatever note you give them.
Yeah.
I don't. I can do percentages, fractions, a whole lot. And it's a case of, it does appear people are getting dumber. A lot of them happen to wear uniforms. You know, it's like, how the fuck did you get into the police? I'm sure you can't even spell it. Yeah, it's crazy. You know, and I'm constantly coming up against people who've got the IQ of a flat tire on a submarine at the bottom of the Pacific, that try to push me around. I had a confrontation in the court at Broadmeadows Magistrates Court, obviously in Broadmeadows in Melbourne. And in the courts here, they got these PSOs, which, what do they call, what's a PSO again? Protective Services Officer. And they're armed with a Glock. So I had a dispute with the head of the security coming in because they wanted me to take my wallet off because it's got a chain to my belt. They said, no, you can't take that chain in. Look at this. I'm trained in hand-to-hand combat. I don't need a chain to fuck you up. I can kill you with my fingers. I don't need a chain. And I'm saying to this woman, well, you know, what about this? And she's getting all authoritative and, oh, it's the law. And I'm asking her. And so she called the PSO over. And this PSO, he comes over. He's about the size of a fucking cricket. His name's Simonelli, so I call him Salmonella. And yes, I call him that to his face. And I called him that in the court, and the magistrate went off at me. I didn't fuck. Anyway, that was afterwards. So he comes over and he starts shoving things around, and he went to shove me. So I told him to fuck off. He's also not too intelligent because he breached the first rule of firearms training. When you're armed and you've got a partner, rule number 1, never get into your partner's line of fire because there's no point having a partner. He can't use his pistol. So Salmonella comes right over in front of me. I could have killed him with my hands and taken his pistol, used his body as a shield. His partner was 10 feet away and there were 2 cops. If I had gone bang, 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 I've got 4 Glocks. And I'm like, so someone said to me, you better go and report it to the police station. I thought, you know what, that's a good idea because this guy's dangerous because somebody bailed me up and said, oh, look, this guy did this to this guy. And so it turns out he's got a problem. He's got short man syndrome and he bashes people. So I went to the cop station and I had a confrontation with this constable. Not that sure he's stable, but he is the rest. And he writes out a totally different statement than what I dictated. And so he showed it to me. I said, I'm not signing that shit. He goes, why? I said, that's your fucking statement. I never told you that. That's your statement. You sign it. And he said, look, just sign it. And I said, no, I'm not signing that shit. So I ended up, are you ready for this? I ended up getting charged with trespass in a public place, being Broadmeadows Police Station. And the sergeant, yes, because I'd been told to leave and I wouldn't. So I got a trial and everything. And yeah, the sergeant was surprised. He called me up. He says, oh, I've got your summons. Do you want to come and get it? I said, yep, I'll be there in half an hour. Really? I said, fucking oath, I want that. And lo and behold, I went and got it. We had a trial and the magistrate didn't want to convict me. But it was amusing because this dead shit police officer, another one of these order followers, and if I said he had an IQ of a flat tire, that would be on a good day when he's obviously got some sort of mind-enhancing drug. I said to him, this guy breached the first rule of firearms training. So guess what the cop says to me? What would you know about firearms training? I said, well, you're a fuckwit, aren't you? Have you ever met me before? He goes, well, no, but I don't like your attitude. I said, well, fuck you. I don't like yours. I've got more firearms training than you do. I'm trained on 15 different weapons systems. What the fuck do you know about weapons training? He didn't like that. I said, yeah, you think you're a tough guy because you can use a Glock semi-automatic pistol. Oh, big deal. You know, and so this is the thing. Well, what would you know about firearms training?
Well, the Glock 16 ain't got a safety. I know that.
No, it's got a 2-stage trigger.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's where all of the accidents come from.
Yeah.
And in Western Australia, they had so many accidents with WA police that they are they were using buckets of sand so that when they were pulling their pistols out of their holsters at the end of the shift, if it went off, it would go into the bucket of sand and wouldn't ricochet around and cause limb injuries.
God.
True story. A couple of cops got shot pulling their service weapon out of their holsters. So this whole thing with order followers who are not that bright is a big deal. And just bear in mind, these people are armed. They could shoot you by mistake because they think you're somebody else. Once you're dead, that's it. It's too late now.
Mm.
You know, and so will there be any sort of rebellion or uprising against government rule? No, not in Australia. But every rebellion we've had has been led by the Irish. Would that surprise you?
Not really.
Nope. All of them were led by Irishmen. There's been 3 rebellions, and Ned Kelly planned one, but which didn't come off. And of course, the Kelly gang were all Irish. So there's never going to be a rebellion here because the Australian government are inept at most things. One thing they are not inept at, and I don't know if this is just by chance. I don't think it is, because the mathematical probability that it's by chance and they can keep it going is highly unlikely, is that they have the ability to push people to the brink, but not over it. They can keep us comfortable just enough that people won't do the French thing and put yellow vests on and get out in the streets. And
shut everything down.
I don't believe it's by chance, because it would appear to be a course of action.
But if you said to me, without me knowing anything about Australia, what do you think about Australia? Would you go and go, oh yeah, they seem to have a much better standard of living than we do, have much better weather than we do, and I quite admire all these people who emigrate to Australia. But that's not what you're saying. It's not like
No,
that.
those two are true. We do have a better standard of living than you guys. And it's like, as for better weather, fucking Antarctica's got better weather than England. Come on.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, fuck's sake. Are we England bashing or what? For fuck's sake.
He's right, though.
Of course.
Remember,
Hey.
you owe your existence to us and our criminals.
But I'm of Irish and Danish blood. I don't know the English anything.
No, but Australia is your homeland, and that's your homeland, and
Yeah.
yes.
Hey, do you know why it rains all the time in England, Jason?
Because we deserve it.
Oh, I've told you that before, you bastard. Fucking Abe's got a good memory, the bastard.
Yay.
When you were just saying then about when you were just going through your story, I've got to tell you, I've got to say this because I've got to do this simply because it's killing me. I know it's a bit.
I can see he's a bit agitated. I just thought that he'd mistaken his toenail clippings for his tobacco or something.
No. Earlier on, you said this to this bloke, I could kill you with my fingers. And then I thought, I could kill you with my toes.
Wow.
Sorry.
That's it. That's what we're going through my head, you see. This is, I'm listening, and then I hear things, and then other things go through my head, and then I sort of lose my strike.
I did notice that. But, it's a case of the thing about Australia is, yes, we got better weather. Yes, we do have a higher standard of living. But
it's more expensive as well, though, isn't it?
No.
The food shopping is, general stuff. Food shopping is far more expensive in Australia than it is in the UK.
It can be, yes. I mean, in 2000 and 11 or 12. One of my friends went to Birmingham, to the land of the Brum, because her son was staying there with his grandmother, and she went there for Christmas. She went into a store in Birmingham and she saw Harvey fresh beef. Harvey is about 130 to 150 k's southeast of Perth, and Harvey Fresh is a brand name. She saw steak cheaper in Birmingham, export quality, than you could buy it in Perth. So yes, the food can be more expensive. But the states aren't all the same. I've got a higher standard of living in Victoria than I can in WA, which is crazy because Western Australia is the one with everything. Gold, nickel, iron ore. You can grow any plant you want. Down in the south, it's like England. It's wheat and barley and rye and all that shit. Up in the north around Kununurra and the Ord River Project, it's rice and pineapples and bananas and bok choy, anything. A friend of mine and myself were looking at a map the other day, and the amount of deep water ports where iron ore or liquid natural gas goes out of Western Australia, there's dozens of them going down the WA coast. The state's only got a population of like 2.5 million people, which is fucking half of Sydney. Theoretically, the standard of living in Western Australia should be the highest in the country. It's not. It's lower than Victoria. I think it's lower than New South Wales because of the way it's run. They couldn't run at a profit if they rigged the books, you know. And so, and that's because of the Andrew Forrests and the Gina Rineharts and all the other scum behind the scenes. So it's a very, very tricky situation. I mean, one thing you might find interesting, WA police has got such a bad name, they can't recruit that easily from other Australian forces anymore. Guess where they get their cops from? England, Ireland. Wow. England and Ireland. Right? Now, that might not sound like a big deal, but Irish police, whether they're from the so-called PSNI, which is the old RUC,
yeah,
or they're from Angara Síochána in the south, they are used to a situation of terrorism. So they've got a different mindset than WA police do on a normal day. Same as English police. In England, you can't swear at cops. In WA, you tell them to get fucked and walk away. You know, and so they have a different mentality, and they're starting to put the boot into people. And so, but you think about it. You're a cop in Sheffield. What's that? West Yorkshire Police?
South Yorkshire.
South Yorkshire Police, then. I suppose West Yorkshire Police would be fucking Leeds or somewhere, wouldn't it?
Yeah, West Yorkshire's up there, up scummy area.
Yeah, Bradford and Pennines and all that. Anyway,
yeah.
So South Yorkshire Police. You're a cop in the South Yorkshire Police, and some guy comes along and he says, "Hey, Jason, how would you like to go and get recruited and go to Perth in Australia? And this is the weather, and this is what you'll get paid. And because you've got, you know, experience and all that, we'll put you in at this rank." And you look at the weather and you go, fucking hell. It's not hard to recruit English police at all. But guess what happens? A lot of them then go, fuck this, and get out. Go back. Because the corruption in the WA police is endemic, and they're psychopaths in blue. So how's this for you? WA police about 5 years ago in Fremantle, they tased a guy. Him and his wife are out walking near the Esplanade Hotel in Fremantle. They go along, there's a bit of a dispute, so they tase the guy unlawfully. Guess what the guy does for a job? He's a professor of law at the University of Western Australia. And he fucked them up the ass. They had to pay out over $1 million. And they have a reputation for tasing people. They've done it twice at the train station in the past few years. So, and they've been hauled over the coals, and it's just crazy. So if you came here, the first thing you'll notice is the difference in the weather. Now, if you're coming from Sheffield and you went to Melbourne or you went to Hobart, not so much, except that the summers are warmer. I mean, the summers in fucking Antarctica are warmer than the summers in Sheffield, surely. Does it get to double digits?
Sometimes.
Yeah, about once every decade or so. Yeah.
It's global warming, you see.
Yeah, that's
Oh, is that what it is?
Fucking
Okay.
climate change.
So the thing is that there are differences, and you're better off in some ways, but other ways you're not. The price of fuel here is much cheaper than what you're paying. Some of the food is cheaper for you than what we're paying. But
it's such a
healthcare
vast
probably
country.
better.
Such a vast country. It's such a vast country. Surely the oil, the petrol prices have to be low, and petrol and diesel, because there's got to be there's a lot of stuff goes by road and stuff. So I would imagine, because it's such a vast country, same as America, gas is a lot cheaper in America than it is here because it's such a big country.
The reason it's cheaper in the United States than for you guys is because of the size of the market. There's 350 million of them, and what do you got in England? 60 million?
Except that's 65, I think.
Yeah, something like that.
You've been active, haven't you, you little buggers? All right, 65 then. So there's multiple sides, and they've got their own oil wells in their country, whereas you don't so much. And as far as here, don't even try and apply logic to the Australian situation. It doesn't work. You would think things would be cheap. No. So there's all sorts of decisions made that are not in the interests of the people, but they are in the interests of the multinational corporations and the people who own Australia. So it's a case of technically, under the Australian consumer law, gouging is illegal. People get gouged on fuel prices all the time, and no one does anything, even though it's illegal. For example, if you've got a petrol station and you get a delivery today and the price of oil goes up tomorrow, the prices go up even though you got the fuel today. Or there's a cycle, believe this or not. I don't know if this happens in England. We've got a cycle. The closer to the end of the week, the price goes up. Then it goes down at the start of the week and it goes up at the end of the week again. So there's... But if we go down to Melbourne and we go near Reservoir and we're going along Marnie's Road, there's a United fuel station there. I can buy LPG for 59 cents a litre. And at the same time, it's about 80 cents a litre in Perth. So if you can explain all these crazy things, I don't know. But it's all fucked up. It's never going to get any better because Australians like it this way. Do you know how I know they like it this way? Because they won't do fuck all about it.
No. Listen, Rob, we've got about 10 minutes left. Well, we're not going to get Iran and Iraq put in that, so we'll have to put that to one side for another show. But this last 10 minutes, I just wanted... We were talking before, earlier on, when we did a little test, and you asked me about what I made of the Harry situation. And I was just wondering what the Prince Harry situation, what's your take on it?
The Guelphs.
The Guelphs.
Number one, fuck the Guelphs. All of them equally, because there's no discrimination allowed. And I honestly don't know, because I didn't see anything in the interviews referring to his mum, even though it says in the headlines. But it could be that he's had some sort of idea going through his head for a while, because he, as you said to me, he must know what happened to his mother.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, these people are not stupid. As much as we don't like them, we're not dealing with cretins, and they are well educated. Like, the Queen is multilingual. She speaks about 6 languages like a native speaker, right? So you're not talking about normal people. He was an army officer, so he's got access to people both through the military and through his rank. He must have a good idea of what happened to his mother.
Yeah.
He must also have a good idea that, well, hang on a sec, that guy's not my dad. He doesn't even fucking look like him. He doesn't look like anybody in the family. You have, but here's the thing. You have a look at them. The Duke of Kent, Phil the Greek, Mountbatten. It's like they're carbon copies of each other. They've got ears that stick out like they should be in Virginia playing a fucking banjo. And does he have that? No. And he's a redhead. And as you said, his old man, in all likelihood, is that major from the Household Cavalry. What's his name again?
Hewitt.
James Hewitt.
The major, I think he was in the Blues and Royals.
Yeah.
And that's likely to be his father. So you see pictures of him? Yep. So you take into account his mother, you take into account the possibility of the fatherhood, him coming across all sorts of information, and we've got no idea what sort of things his wife is telling him. She's American, even though she's a distant cousin to him. She's American. She's not naive. She's been out in the world more than he has, because he's been out in the world in a different way to her. But he's never been out of the establishment. He went from the royal family to the fucking army. That's like going from primary school to high school, or from high school to primary school. You know, It's still the deal, you know. So she could be saying all sorts of stuff to him, because from all accounts, she's not stupid either, you know. So I don't know what's going on, but if he's trying to make a genuine break out of the family, good on him. You know, you're talking about a family of parasites who suck the life's blood out of all of us. Oh, but they bring in tourists. Well, so does fucking Big Ben and London Bridge and fucking Tower Bridge and all the other places and Stonehenge. You know?
Yeah, who actually sees any royalty when they come to visit? Who actually sees anybody, any royalty? Even like minor royalty, nobody sees anything. So it's not them, the buildings, it's the history. That's what people come for, to look at that. So we don't need these fucking bog fucking sitters. Fucking solid gold bog in Kensington Palace.
Yeah.
Someone nicked it, didn't they? Remember that one? A solid gold bog. 3 million quid to have a shit on.
And like the Queen sitting in the drawing room with a gold piano behind her. The dates from King George III or some shit. Remember that?
Yeah.
I'm like, a gold piano, does it make it sound any better, or are you just a wanker?
Yeah, but don't forget, we own that. She's only looking after it for us. She's kind enough to do that for us.
Do you even know how to play a piano, Aid?
No.
I was going to say, you better go and get your fucking piano then before she carks it. and old Charlie will inherit that.
You see, I think the thing with these two wanting to clear out, Harry Hewitt, who's probably also thinking, my mum weren't a Spencer either. Chances are she was a goldsmith. You know, and all that crooked crap that was going on. I think it's either him saying, you killed my mum, so I'm off, or it's Queenie saying, sorry, you're not marrying one of those. And by the way...
That will be a big deal. Yes, that's a big part of it.
And by the way, you're not really one of us either, so off you fuck.
I mean, you don't, as I said, you don't dare let me near a television that's on, right? And I had a friend over from Dubai when that wedding was happening, and we went over to my mate's place. He's closer to, what do you call it, the snowfields in Victoria. And we're at his house while the royal wedding was on. And I was given a running commentary, of course, very derogatory and rude and crude and offensive, just the way I like it, of course. And when they pulled that black bishop out, I liked that guy. I watched this black bishop and I fucking liked him. What he was saying was good. And I said to him, hang on. This is a fucking black bishop in the Guelph's own family chapel at Windsor. These people are well known to be racist as shit. How do you think they feel about having a black bishop in their private chapel, let alone a black bride? And I like that. He did a good job. That's the one bit that I thought was good. And she's a distant cousin to Harry anyway.
Oh, are they?
Yes, through her father.
Okay.
So, you know, it's a case of, I don't know what's going on, but you see all these people saying, oh, you know, we should have a referendum on abolishing the monarchy. Did you know that's a criminal offence in the UK? To promote abolishing the monarchy is a criminal offence, which I doubt they'd charge you for it these days, but it is. It's actually a criminal offence. So I don't know, but in law school, they teach you here, that, you know, the Queen's just a figurehead and she doesn't have any real power. Really? Do you know about the court case between the Guardian newspaper and the Cabinet Office? You know about that?
No.
Well, the Guardian did an FOI to the Cabinet Office to find out about the Queen giving royal assent, and they refused. They said it's not in the public interest. Well, it went all the way to the High Court, and the High Court of England turned around and said, well, no, those are public documents. You can't claim public interest exemption. Hand them over. So they hand the documents over. Lo and behold, the Queen has refused to give royal assent to acts. She's amended acts that have passed Parliament before she gives royal assent. She's vetoed acts. Prince Charles has amended acts before they get assent, and he's vetoed some. Now, where the fuck does the Prince of Wales get that power from? There's nothing in any law books, and you just go onto Google and type in Guardian newspaper FOI High Court of England. You'll find the article about it. And it gives you a partial list of the acts. One of the ones the Queen vetoed was about veterans, funny enough. Thanks for your service, get fucked. Oh, thanks, Your Majesty. And so the thing is, it's just the sooner people wake up and grow up and do away with this monarchy thing, it's the same as nation states. What are you doing?
Do you know, the only sport that I've ever grasped in my life is ice hockey, and I've no idea why. But before every game, they do the national anthem thing, and everybody stands up, and I don't. And I just look around at all these people, and I just think, is there not enough just as like, surely you're thinking, who killed Diana? Surely any normal person is thinking, hang on a minute, Mountbatten, Prince Charles was a good mate of Savile's, and then we've got Andrew, who's a good mate of Epstein. Hang on a minute, has nobody actually thought, these aren't just a bunch of kiddie fiddlers, are they? Does it not kind of cross anybody else's mind in this whole stadium where people have stood up? And they're not, it's not, we haven't got a national anthem, not to the country. We've got an anthem to the Guelphs.
Yeah. God save the Queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. You know, it's a case of, in my opinion, the whole thing's stupid. Like, you know, when you go into a court and they say, all rise, and the magistrate comes out, I never do that. But I don't get into contempt because I don't sit down.
Mm.
I go in, I just stand up. And then they come in, they go, all rise. I'm already standing.
Up. Yeah.
But I also can tell by what's going on in the court, it's just about to finish. So before it finishes, I stand up, which sometimes gets bemused looks from the bench and some of the people at the bar. What the fuck's he stand up for? Because I'm not going to stand for you, but I'm not going to get into contempt. I have been known to refuse to stand, and I did that at Broadmeadows with the magistrate. I refused to stand, and he stopped and looked at me. I leaned back in my seat and crossed my arms and eyeballed him. He stormed out, and his associate said to me, you got to stand. I said, no, I don't. It's the law. I said, fuck off. It's a policy. It's a tradition. Don't bullshit to me. I've been to law school too. And I wouldn't stand because he was screwing me over. Fuck him. Because if they do me for contempt, I can get out of contempt easy as pie. So, but if they want to convict me, I'm happy for them to convict me and put me in jail, because guess what happens when I get out? I appeal it. And then I tell a higher level judicial officer what's gone on. And if that judicial officer says, you know what, Mr. Halford, you're right. Guess what that's called? Payday. So, you know, all of this salute the Queen and fucking national anthems and flags, that's mind control so that you don't like the Germans. And it's like, hang on a second, you guys are English. That's a corruption of Angles. Anglo-Saxons are Germans. Why would you not like Germans? They're your fucking cousins. Because someone told you to. Who? The Guelphs, who married into German royal families. So you got people from German royal families telling you not to like the Germans. And in World War I, the fucking King of England, his cousin's Kaiser Wilhelm. And their other cousin, Tsar Nicholas. They're all grandsons of fucking Queen Victoria. And they got the flags, they got the national anthems, they got all this shit. It's time to go and kill the Hun. Well, excuse me, but Attila's dead. He's been dead since like fucking 500 AD. So I think that we'll just stay home. You know, it's like, so I don't believe in all that shit. And do you know what's amusing? The common man, and I'll use this current example, the common man in the United States has got more in common with the common man in Iraq and Iran. Did you hear that, American nuggets? Iran, not Iran, because Iran's a song by a flock of seagulls from 1981. They've all got more in common than they do with their own elites. So an American has got more in common with an Iranian than he does with Donald Trump. They might laugh at that. That's the facts. So there's only actually one war going on the whole planet. The rich elites against us. Why the fuck would you buy into that? It's like, and you know a very good example to show you how dumb it is? The football matches during the truce in 1914 on the Western Front. Yeah. The Germans and the English playing football at Christmas and swapping alcohol and cigars, and they had to take them back to the trenches at gunpoint, some of them. So it's a case of, what the fuck? Why would you do it? Because someone told you to. Because they profit from it. That's a good plan, Jason. What do you reckon?
Well, fucking hell, yeah, of course it is.
Look at what...
typing something, didn't you? So I weren't really listening.
See? I saw him and I fucking bingled him.
You did, didn't you? You fucking done me there, man.
Yeah. What did Haig do at the Battle of the Somme? He got everybody to go over the top. 60,000 British soldiers killed in how many days? It's like 2 days, 3 days. Killed. Not wounded. Killed. What the fuck? The common Palestinians got more in common with the common Israeli than they do their own people, or their own leaders. And the Palestinians and the Israeli Jews, those two are so similar, it's fucking ridiculous. You know? It's absolutely crazy how we are conditioned to fight people we've got no gripes against.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
And
it's the attitude, isn't it? It's the old nobody. What's his name? That boxer bloke,
Muhammad
quite good.
Ali.
Yeah, when he said nobody in Korea called me nigger or something like that.
Well, that's why I say he's the real world champion, and I'm not talking about boxing.
Yeah.
I don't like boxing, but I fucking love Muhammad Ali because he had ethics. And what did he do? He went to jail. He lost his license to box because he would not go. He said, "Why should I?" He stood on his ethics, and he didn't back down, and they did. And when you see him interviewed, he's intelligent and he's funny. He knows if you want to get things across to people, make them laugh. So
Yeah.
I always loved him. But see, I was watching a football show years ago, and they pulled that quote out from Gary Lineker, football, 90 minutes, 22 guys chasing a ball, and the Germans always win. Remember that quote from Gary Lineker?
Yeah.
And some guy goes, "That's right, but we won the war." And this is a group of guys sitting around a table on the show. I'm like, hang on a second. We're talking about a fucking football match, and you're talking about World War II. What the? And so if you go back and have a look at John Cleese, remember Fawlty Towers episode, The Germans?
Yeah.
He wasn't making fun of Germans. He was making fun of the English with this,
Of course.
"We won the war, fuck the Germans." He was making fun of them.
Of course.
And it's absolutely crazy how people carry these things on. I remember you guys did this. Fuck, when did they do that? 1914. It's 2020, you dead shit. That's like fucking 106 years ago. You weren't even alive. Well, I read it in a book. Fuck off, you can't even read the toilet paper, let alone a book. So it's just absolutely insane to see the indoctrination to get us to hate the other common man. He doesn't have anything wrong with, he doesn't have a feud with us because we all want the same thing. We want to have a life, have our family, and be left alone.
Oh, exactly. Just
all
to be
of us
left
want
alone.
that. All of us want that.
Yeah.
So the people who are telling you, "Hey, Ade, it's them German pricks. They're coming to take England. They're going to get it." What would the Germans want England for? They've got Germany. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so it's a case of, it's the people who are telling you that you've got to be suspicious of, not the people they're telling you about. But people, they buy into this shit. Shane Warne, of course he survived the fires. He's not in the fires. Maybe that's unfortunate. I don't know. Maybe he should be.
It's it's a joke.
Is that why they call it the Ashes? Hey.
Well, you know what? I'm trying to figure out how we can get fucking the fire to turn around and go to Canberra and burn out Parliament. But, it's a case of, with all of this stupidity, it's amazing to see it. People just, they buy into this stuff. And, there's a humorous meme, which is true on Facebook. And it says, the Americans will invade your country, kill your people, and then 20 years later make a movie about how it made their soldiers sad. And that's true, like Black Hawk Down and things. And they go, "Oh, they look at what they did to our people." And I had this out with an American guy one day. He was complaining about what the Somalis had done to the American guys that crashed in that Black Hawk. And I said to him, "Okay, so when you say that these guys did this, did they do that in San Francisco or where did they do it?" "No, it was in Mogadishu." "Right. And why were you guys in Mogadishu? Oh, because we were there doing this. Hang on a second. What the fuck? So you can go to their country and kick the shit out of them. When they do something to you, that's not allowed. That's the same thing going on in Iraq and Iran now. And it's not unique to the United States. It's the whole fucking Anglo-Saxon Empire doing this. But it's absolutely insane to see this stupidity. And people buy into this. And I can tell you the military indoctrination is very intense, depending on where you go. The Air Force is less intense than the Army. But, you know, it's a case of it's very intense indoctrination, and it can take a long time to get it out of you. And that's if you haven't been into combat, you know, and it's just humans better wake the fuck up. Otherwise, guess what's going to happen? We're going to extinct ourselves soon if we don't wake the fuck up to ourselves, because we're the dumbest species on the planet. There's no other species fuck the environment for money. No other species does it. So I just look at it and think, oh, okay. So what's the difference between Jason and fucking Herman? Oh, well, Jason's got a khaki uniform and Herman's got a grey uniform, and Jason's got a red, white, and blue flag, and he's got this flag, and he's got this helmet. Fuck off. It's stupid.
It's an illusion.
It's fucking kindergarten stupid.
Yeah.
And adults believe it. And it is. It's an illusion.
Government only exists between your ears.
Yep.
Exactly. Well, we've got, listen, Rob, we've gone 10 minutes over, and we're doing 8 till 10 because we were 9 till 11 were killing us, weren't it, really? So we're going to have to wrap it up. We're going to have to get off, as they say. We'll
deliver? Because if you're going to wrap it up, I hope you deliver.
Okay.
He doesn't get it. Look, he's sitting there. I can see the cogwheels going. Blah, blah, blah. We're going to wrap it up. Well, do you deliver?
Right. Okay. Got you. Very good.
We do kidney as well.
Yeah. Get yourself a Vegemite sandwich. That's all I can.
Oh, I like Vegemite. That's good shit, man.
Yes, we're going to have to. We'll wrap it up, and we'll get back to Iraq and Iran on another show. So we'll organise another show perhaps next week or something or other.
It's possible.
Yeah, well, you know, whenever you want, we can get into Iran and Iraq and
have a look at his sleeve, Ade. He's trying to tell me that's red, white, and blue. It's fucking red, white, and black. He's a closet United supporter. Look at him.
It's red, white, and blue.
See, he's trying to tell it. See, there he's telling you that. You believe that shit? Look at it.
It's red, white, and blue.
Yeah. Come on.
Yeah. Blues, and you probably think police uniforms are black.
Some of them are here.
Anyways, listen, thanks to everybody for listening. What do I want to... Oh, my joke. My dog joke.
You already told it.
You've been... No, that was me.
Well, got a new favourite.
That was my previous favourite dog joke. And now, this is my new favourite dog joke.
Okay, well, I'm already sitting down, so unleash it on us.
Right, so it's in 60s, and a dog, it's like a suave dog, like dog about town. He walks into a post office, and he says and he wants to send a telegram. So he says, "Well, what do you want on the telegram?" And he says, "Woof, woof, 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 woof." And he says, "Well, you see, there's 9 letters there, 9 words there. You can put an extra woof in. It won't cost you anything. It's the same price." And Doug says, well, it wouldn't make any fucking sense then, would it?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I saw that coming a mile away.
Yes.
It's the ones that you see coming, they're the best ones. You know it's going to come.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave those lines well alone. I've never been in the Navy, and the Navy's never been in me. We'll leave that alone. Unbelievable. Hey, did you see my limerick I made up?
Go on.
Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Fuck the government, they can all suck my dick. I like it. I reckon it's great.
What would you do though? What would you do though if like you got a knock at the door one day and there were a load of politicians out queuing up to suck your dick?
I'd ring up the lawnmower man and get him around in a hurry with his fucking ride-on lawnmower. But I'm waiting to get pulled over by the highway patrol, who they always give you a hard time. That they must have woken up in a bath or something, not even on the wrong side of the bed. They're nasty. And I'd tell them that. I'd change it. So to be Jack be nimble, Jack be quick. Fuck the highway patrol. You can all suck my dick. And you know why you do that? Because it infuriates them and it changes their mind. Because you think about it. You've got something in your mind, but now you've got to listen to me. And I say something radical and you forget what you were thinking about. So now instead of your gameplay, it's my gameplay. You see?
Yeah.
So there's actually a tactic to my rude, crude, and offensive behaviour, other than just my natural abilities.
Rob, listen, we'd probably be here for about another 6 hours if we let it carry on. But seriously, we are knackered. We know it's your morning for you, and I know you've been up since at least 5 o'clock because, well, 4:45. Me and you were at your time. I didn't
go to bed.
Right. Well, yeah.
So I've been up since yesterday morning.
You must be knackered. You must be absolutely knackered.
Not yet.
Well, big thanks anyway for coming on and sharing your wisdom with us. And you're probably not on screen because you're on your camera because it's not a widescreen one because your head must be that big. There's that much in it. You know, there's that much information in there that you must have like a head like a fucking pumpkin or something like that. So we can understand that the fact that you're not showing this yourself tonight. This morning.
Sounds legit.
Yeah. All right then. Well, listen. Any last words from you, Ade?
No, thanks, Rob. And anytime. Cheers. Thank you.
And thanks to everyone in the chat room, the usual people: Ron, Malcolm, Super Leeds, Galaxian, Soul Bollocks, Uni Black Sister, John T.I. Get in touch with me if you can. And we're going to have a show tomorrow night. There's going to be a show tomorrow night. I've got guests that are on I've got about 4 guests that I'm waiting for one to jump and and gig, try to get in. So I'll do that. I'll be on that tomorrow, all day tomorrow.
Hey, I just discovered live comments and all these little nuggets have been making all these comments and I just found them all this time later. You didn't tell me we had a live comments chat room.
Oh yeah, of course we have. Yeah, I've been putting things up from it in the. Did you not notice the things that were coming up on the?
But you didn't tell me that I could actually view the chat room myself. I just discovered it by accident.
Right. Okay. Oh yeah, because I went in that mode earlier on, and it is it says live comments and it's got another thing in it, and the default is the other thing, and if you don't notice it, you know. Sorry about that. You can. I
didn't know either.
Did you know?
How long have you been using it, Ade, you boxhead?
Oh my God, the man with the funniest cramp on YouTube ever. That's the last word from him. Listen, we'll be on tomorrow night, and listen, it's one thing to make people laugh, it's another to make people smile. I hope we've made you do both of them tonight, and take it easy. We'll see you tomorrow.
Bye, everybody. It's one thing to make people laugh. It's one thing to make people smile. Don't fuck with me because I'll make you run a fucking mile. How's that?
Or I'll brand you a paedophile.
Oh my God.
Oh, fuck. I like my version better.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.